Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome again to the inter-secondary school semifinal debates. Yes, it's going to be hot tonight. We got two of the better teams debating the moot. Media censorship is needed in the British Virgin Islands. Yes, media censorship is needed in the British Virgin Islands. I'd like to now introduce our debaters. Please give them a warm round of applause after their names. For the proposition is Team St. George's Secondary School. First speaker, Camilla Millington. Second speaker, Hunter Christopher. And rebuttal speaker, Leamoy Biggs. For the opposition is Team Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies. First speaker, Anya Stevens. Second speaker, Graceland Pickering. And rebuttal speaker, Noah Spencer. Our judging criteria for this evening's debate: soundness of points, 35, logical development, 20, audibility and clarity, 15, posture and personality, 15, command of the language, 15, group coordination, 10, for a total of 110 points. The rebuttal speaker will also be considered for the Best Speaker Award and will be judged by Best Speaker adjudicators. The criteria for the rebuttal speaker are recall of points, 10, recall and general analysis of debate, 14, ability to refute, 20, spontaneity, 6, for a total of 50 points. The criteria for Best Speaker: audibility and clarity, 15 points, articulation, 15, voice modulation, 10, command of material, 10, persuasiveness, 15, fluency, 15, eye contact, 5, body language, 15, for a total of 100 points. Okay. I now call on the proposition's first speaker, Ms. Camilla Millington, to present its case.
The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. Now that's power because they control the minds of the masses. Malcolm X. Breaking news, breaking news! Female brutally raped and beaten. Her name and gruesome video follows below. Is this what we would like for our beautiful British Virgin Islands? Is this the dismal future we want for our upcoming generation? Good evening, honored officials, lawn moderator, my worthy opponents, esteemed audience, and colleagues. Before I dig any deeper into my argument, we must first understand what the moot is in fact trying to say. Thus, I will expound on the key terms of the moot. BusinessDictionaries.com defines media as communication channels through which news, entertainment, education, data, or promotional messages are disseminated. According to the online dictionary, censorship is the suppression of free speech, public communication, or other information which are considered obscene politically, unacceptable, and a threat to security. Let us bear in mind that a dictionary definition does not address contextual meaning, but merely gives a basic, limited, generic explanation. Needed is defined as a requirement, a necessary duty, an obligation. The British Virgin Islands can merely be explicated as the archipelago of islands which serve as our country of dwelling. Permit me to plug these definitions into the moot. The moot states that the suppression of any parts of communication channels through which news, entertainment, education, data, or promotional messages are disseminated is a requirement in our country of dwelling. However, is this really the case? As a result, we have a responsibility to censor what the dictionary says. Note, even this online definition explains that the prohibition associated with censorship has to do with the obscene, the unacceptable, and that which poses a threat to security. After significant research, which has recognized the shortcoming of mere dictionary definitions, we have concluded, with aid from thebalance.com, that censorship is about providing barriers and principles to safeguard our citizens from obscene and unacceptable content. My role as first speaker is to focus on 2 of 3 points. My first point will give a psychological background of censorship and indicate that censorship has been around since the beginning of time. I will also point out that the abuse of freedom of the press is a major reason why censorship is needed. My second speaker will proceed by paying particular attention to the third point, which gives concrete examples of this misconduct which occurs in our island. We, the members of the proposition, have concluded that the concept of censorship of the media has oftentimes been interpreted as taking away the rights of the media. We declare that the 2 terms are not synonymous. I repeat, they do not mean the same thing. In fact, the 2 terms are comparable to chalk and cheese. Rather than censorship taking away the rights of the media, censorship is really protecting the rights of all citizens, the media, as well as those it writes and speaks about. Censorship of the media is a mechanism to ensure that the media does not trample on the rights of citizens in the name of breaking news. This very discussion on censorship can be applied to the human mind. Look at that. Even the human has its own form of censorship. According to renowned psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, we as human beings only function as desirable citizens because even though the id, the free spirit in us, tells us we are free to do what we like, the superego or the moral guidelines constantly remind us that our freedom must be a freedom which also protects the rights of others. Even this debate demonstrates the need for censorship. That's why we need timekeepers who ring that little bell just to let us know that we cannot suppress the rights of the other team by going above the time limit. However, that does not hinder me from getting my point across or even perhaps winning this debate. The term censorship dates as far back as the Big Bang Theory. The planets require censorship to keep them on their course and to avoid them from colliding with each other. Censorship applies to all of human society in the British Virgin Islands. Doctors are censored under the Hippocratic Oath. Lawyers, teachers, nurses, preachers, bankers are guided by legal and moral codes of conduct. We as citizens also censor our politicians and vote accordingly. Essentially, censorship is a requirement for all members of civil society. Are we implying that the media is greater and more powerful than anyone else and so does not require guidelines for its operations? The media can totally destroy or create a person if they want to. It's one of those problems in the BVI where all the media is ruled by only a few people. What the media wants is controversy, and controversy sells. The hottest story is what people want, even to the point of exaggerating the report to get higher ratings. We believe that the root of all evil is the abuse of power. The abuse of freedom of the press is a paramount reason why censorship needs to be put in place. We, the proposition, understand that freedom of the press is a fundamental right within the British Virgin Islands in order for our people to be well informed. But freedom of the press is not a license to abuse. It is a responsibility, and as such, should be carried out responsibly and with dignity. Freedom of the press should not becloud our sense of rational reasoning and make us forget that there are restrictions attached to every right. The restriction in this case is that of respecting others' privacy. We must understand that we live in and by the law. When and where do we draw the line? The time is now ripe in the British Virgin Islands. Put a legislation in place to censor and govern media practitioners, just as any other profession. The media in the British Virgin Islands should be as accountable as everyone else. It should be censored. Maybe that wasn't clear enough. Censor it. Mr. Moderator, we the members of the proposition emphatically declare that censorship of the media in the BVI is a moral and legal requirement, not to take away the rights of the media, but rather to bring it in line with the requirements of accountability, which we rightfully impose on all the citizens of this beautiful country. The greater the power, the more dangerous the abuse. The proposition rests its case momentarily.
Thank you very much, Ms. Millington. I now call on the opposition's first speaker, Anya Stevens, to present its case.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator, scorekeepers, special judges, timekeeper, guests, and fellow schoolmates. Our topic for this debate is media censorship is needed in the British Virgin Islands. We, the opposing team, believe that it's not the appropriate time to introduce such drastic legislation at this particular period in our small state developing country and economy. However, we welcome the public discourse on this relevant and sensitive topic. Allow me to bring into context two words that are the backbone of the moot. They are censorship and the media. The Oxford English Dictionary defines censorship as a mean of suppression or prohibition of any parts of books, films, news, etc., that are considered obscene, politically unacceptable, or a threat to security. At the same time, it defines media as the main means of mass communication, broadcasting, publishing, and the internet collectively. Examples of the media broadcasting and narrowcasting medium, such as the radio and television, along with newspapers, magazines, billboards, direct mail, telephone, fax, and the internet, reaches and influence people across the world. But the media as we know it in the Virgin Islands includes, but not limited to, Government Information System, BVI Beacon, Island Sun, BVI News Online, BVI Platinum News Online, and Virgin Island News Online, and the local broadcasting networks and radio stations. Today, as first speaker from my team, I will mainly be focusing on censorship as a global phenomenon and what it means to the Virgin Islands, along with the need for legislation to have free access information. While my teammate will elaborate on the impact as it relates to freedom of speech, modifying the truth and hindering creativity. The affirmative team have attempted to convince you that we need to censor the media here in the Virgin Islands based on their research. They also argued that some of the information being circulated to the public is not accurate enough, hence the need to censor the media here in the Virgin Islands. Mr. Moderator, we, the opposing team, have discovered that there are far-reaching implications associated with censoring the media as it relates to small democratic society, which we are. Based on research posted on the Huffington Post by the Committee to Protect Journalists, they listed that 10 most censored countries, but in the interest of time, I will list 3 of the most popular ones. They are Saudi Arabia, China, and Cuba. While different countries, such as the ones listed, censor the media in one way or the other, the amount of censorship or the cut-off level, which defines what to show, write, or broadcast, differs. There are also different types of censorship. Mr. Moderator, the affirmative team claimed that one of the most common criteria behind censorship is the age limits for viewing different media. Sometimes the censorship can be a blanket ban or certain taboo topics, and the definition of a taboo topic greatly differs depending on who you ask. Based on United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19, everyone has a right to freedom of or opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any medium. Hence the need for a Human Rights Council to be put in place rather than using energy on trying to censor the media. Mr. Moderator, is the affirmative team aware of the far-reaching implications of what they are proposing? Then again, there are persons who think that its usage creates a balance in what ought to be said and written. This in itself poses a threat to the right of speech and information. The term censoring of media had been a hot topic here in the Virgin Islands since 2012 up to present by persons including the Legislative Council and the Governor. In an article published by Virgin Island News Online dated September 4th, 2012, it noted that the Honorable Minister had previously expressed concern in the last sitting of the House of Assembly in July about the need of censorship with online news sites. Although it was particularly targeting online media, it is not far-fetched for them to move on to another form of media. The Honorable Minister is also quoted saying that the ministry depends on the media to give us information and there is truth in the content. Governor Duncan, in a press conference, as noted on the government's website under its media center, to mark his second year in office, told persons in attendance that he wants the press to ask the right questions. Mr. Moderator, putting the governor's statement into context means he does not want to censor the media. It says to me and my team that he would like the press to be more educated in probing for relevant information. This may be the said reason why Governor Duncan is making it public knowledge that he is pushing to have free access to information. He has criticized the sitting government for dragging its feet regarding crucial pieces of legislation, such as the Freedom of Information Act, according to the BVI News Online and the BVI Beacon. This again signifies a substantial difference between censoring the media versus educating journalists. In concluding, I have spoken about some of the aspects that seriously impede the way of life in the Virgin Islands as a result of censoring the media here. As a young person who have a vested interest in this community, which I call home, I am keenly concerned about the stability of our democratic system. As I bring my presentation to a close, I would like to point out that if the media is further censored in the Virgin Islands, it will erode the democratic process that our forefathers have fought tirelessly for. Let us continue to lobby for legislations like Freedom of Information Act and the Human Rights Council that will promote good governance in our beloved Virgin Islands. Finally, Mr. Moderator, approving the Freedom of Information Act will ensure more factual information at persons' fingertips. This may even reduce the amount of speculations being published on the blogs. I thank you for your indulgence, and remember, access to information leads to education.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stevens. I now call on the proposition's second speaker, Ms. Hunter Christopher, to present its case.
Mr. Moderator, it is important that we solidify in our audience's minds that we are not referring to state-owned media. State ownership of the media is found in autocratic, non-democratic countries with highly interventionist governments. Countries with weak governments do not possess the political will to break up state media monopolies. If British Virgin Islanders advocated for such, it would be in essence endorsing controlling the media, a gross form of dictatorship. What we are referring to is censorship. I dare say it, guidelines for the media. As we all know, a world without rules and regulations is a world of chaos, imminent danger, and possible corruption. Margaret Mead once said, "Children must be taught how to think, not what to think." If we understand the concept of censorship of the media, we will certainly change the way we think and behave, and we'll certainly have less adverse effects in our lives. Yes, the opposition would like us to believe that in the 21st century, we should live our lives without boundaries. But let's bring a dose of reality to this discussion. Media has the ability to manipulate its viewers in ways that are often unseen. Driven by money, greed, and popularity, most media outlets are fighting to report what they believe we want to hear, not what we really should hear. We all know by now that social and news media and the implications of using them unwisely. Take, for example, the following illustrations drawn from real situations within the BVI where media reported and negatively impacted the lives of all people. Consider this case about a local attorney successfully suing one of our online media houses for libelous and slanderous blogs. Mr. Moderator, just last month, on January 17, 2017, the Virgin Islands High Court awarded financial damages in this said case. The court sent a strong message that we cannot and we should not allow the media to create an atmosphere of distrust and by manipulating words carelessly. Censoring extreme violent material is beneficial, particularly among children. With the access to a mirage of technological gadgets, the influence of media is made easier, perhaps now viewed as essential. The younger generation will easily fall prey to negative content, as young minds are inquisitive. Another case to substantiate my argument, I refer to the case where two sisters at our local college were convicted of criminal damage and assault occasioning bodily harm. These sisters were made to pay $11,000 in damages. Mr. Moderator, please understand my point. A simple web search will show that this altercation can be viewed all over social media. I invite you to ponder on the negative consequences of such uncensored media coverage. 1. Damaged reputation. One student even worried about her inability to enter the USA and begged the court to erase this from her records. 2. Cyberbullying. This is the highest form of bullying, circulating unflattering content for the purpose of bad, all over social media. These videos never die and will tend to follow the persons involved for the rest of their lives, virtually erasing their chances of a new start in life. This is exactly why certain elements of societal ills should not be covered as breaking news or allowed to become social commentary on networking sites. What about the unfortunate family who saw their son, brother, cousin, and friend's body plastered all over social media before they were even advised officially of his demise or even how he died? The emotional damage that was caused by such callous exploitation is irreparable. I'm certain you remember that case that took place in the eastern part of our island, and the list goes on and on. What we really are saying is this. Rules and regulations are a part of our daily lives. They were created to modify our behavior by adopting certain rules, values, morals, and principles. While it is not the view that censorship of the media will totally eliminate unfortunate situations of careless practice, it will certainly alter our behavior and remind us that there are consequences to breaking rules and regulations. Discipline is an effective tool in every facet of our lives, and the media should not be an exception. Mr. Moderator, I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Ms. Christopher. I now call on the opposition's second speaker, Gracelyn Pickering, to present its case.
Good evening. My teammate mentioned that we have discovered there are far-reaching implications associated with censoring the media. As I make my presentation, I will evoke how media censorship affects the freedom of speech, modifies the truth, and hinders creativity. Mr. Moderator, the media is a major source of information. Everything that we know about anything in the world today is because of news channels, newspapers, internet, and other forms of the media that we have access to. The affirmative team failed to mention that we are a country that relies heavily on doing business with the global village. As a developing country who has to do business with the rest of the world as it relates to the financial services industry, we cannot afford to bring about such radical legislations as censoring the media. In the name of moral values, should we keep the society from progressing by claiming certain ideas to be against our culture? Must we continue to allow the country to be blacklisted? How can a society, a country move forward on an international level if we have no regard for democracy and human rights? Mr. Moderator, allow me to reiterate some of the things that fall under media censorship. For example, radio, television, newspapers, online and hard copy, magazines, billboards, and the internet. The affirmative team have said that times are changing. Yes, we are quite aware of such changes. That is why we can say that newer generation is hungrier for information and the latest technology. Hence, in 2016, the House of Assembly passed legislation to automatically exchange financial account information in tax matters, which tax authorities can share relevant data in relation to financial assets held by the tax authorities around the world, according to BeVeryForward.bg. This sharing of vital and relevant information ensures the sustainability of one of our main revenue generators, just as the media shares vital and relevant information to the public. This is why my team and I are adamant about censoring the media. How else would we have known about such vital information? In addition, what is the point of having to speak your mind if there's no one to be listening to what is said? It is stated in Chapter 2, Article 23 of the Constitution of the Virgin Islands that a person's freedom of expression includes freedom to hold opinions without interference, freedom to distribute information and ideas without interference. I ask, does the very concept of censorship clash with democracy? If we are going to cover our ears of our listeners, then what is the difference between democracy and dictatorship? In the content in the media, it is manipulated that some people with vested interest, the whole point of democracy and freedom of thought goes out the window. And how difficult do you think it would be to get uncensored version of anything these days? By censoring information, you are promoting the need for information, good or bad. Censoring information may lead to a wrong image perceived by the public. It gives rise to and hides abuse of human rights. Take, for example, if the news being reported from the war does not show the true nature of the damage inflicted, how can the person be aware of the real situation of the war? Death is real, and people affected in the war pay for it with their lives, as we owe it to them to tell their true, full stories. Do not censor the media. Rather, tackle the issues leading to a situation that might need to be censored. Hiding the complete picture does not erase its present. It merely gives a false perception. Moreover, censorship hinders creativity. Censoring radio, television, newspapers, magazines, billboards, and the internet compromise their value. One cannot voice their thoughts freely in any medium. It may be used to block legitimate circumstances and is limiting journalists, reporters, artists, and the like from truly expressing themselves. Every argument given from the implementation of media censorship can as easily be used in a point against it. You can probably say that this is a debate largely at a matter of information being channeled to the public. The question that the affirmative need to ask themselves are, what is the reason behind the censorship? Is the media being allowed to publish what is ought to be published? I conclude by leaving the affirmative team to ponder their reasons and wonder about these questions. The plaque most of the Virgin Islands community on censoring the media. Finally, Mr. Moderator, do not censor the media. Rather, tackle the issues leading to a situation that might need to be censored. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pickering. I now call on the opposition's rebuttal speaker, Mr. Noah Spencer, to present his case.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As said by the propositions Fourth speaker, media helps control the way one views things, so why censor it? She also stated that we should censor the politicians we vote for. Why would we want to restrict the information given to the public for someone we will have control of finances, tourism, and the future of our generation? And our future generation. Essentially, the proposition is saying that we should accept false advertising. Why will someone not want to know about who they are voting for and what they are capable of? The second speaker stated that the media is known to tamper with one's views. Quite repetitive, if you may ask. I'm sorry. She also stated that a group of girls were charged $11,000 for an act they committed. She added that this may cause cyberbullying. As my mother always says, what is done in the dark must come to light. Why praise these females by hiding their identity when they are bold enough to go and perform such act? Also, and this made me wonder, she said, this is similar to the incident which occurred in East End. And see, because of censoring, she left us without knowledge of which situation she was talking about. Oops. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case.
I now call on the proposition's rebuttal speaker, Leamoy Biggs, to present its rebuttal.
My teammates and I, as a proposition, have shown you all the possible reasons why media in the BVI must be censored. We pointed out that censorship has been around since the beginning of time, and it must exist in the BVI in order for there to be organization in our society. We even recognize the fact that the media's abuse of freedom of the press is a direct reason for censorship. I mean, we even gave instances of this abuse. What more is there? The opposition's case is totally fatalistic. They are trying so hardly to reassure you that the media censorship is totally insignificant to our pristine islands. I must say, they put up quite a fight, but still failed miserably. But in order to ensure that our pristine islands remain immaculate, we must devise a plan to censor the media that is brought forth to the public, which includes our next generation. The first speaker of the opposition mentioned that censorship is defined as a means of suppression of books, news, and films by Oxford dictionaries. They're still trying to tell you that censorship, by definition, regards the suppression of the press. We, the proposition, are telling you from an educated and well-researched point of view that censorship is simply rules and regulations set out as barriers to safeguard our people. My first speaker made it abundantly clear that we are not taking away the rights of press. We are simply saying that we must abide by the guidelines set out to protect our people. The opposition said that censorship hides the truth and hinders creativity. The opposition has found every possible negative fault of censorship, but failed to realize that censorship has done for us for decades now. What it has done for us for decades now. Without censorship, the term civil society would cease to exist. The world would basically be chaotic. Quoting what the opposition said, censoring the media will erode the democratic practice of our forefathers who have worked hard. We are not trying to erode democracy, but if the press fails to comply with the regulations allotted, they must suffer the consequences. Just as if someone chooses to kill, they serve the time in prison as a consequence. It is not the appropriate time to instill censorship, as quoted by the opposition. So, we will wait until it gets worse to censor it when everything is chaotic? No, Mr. Moderator, we must censor the media now. My time is running out, and I will soon be censored by the timekeeper by ringing of the bell. But I'll leave with this. Mr. Moderator, it seems as though media's desire for news greatly overshadows their fear of being sued. We must rest our case. Thank you.
I now call the debate back to order, and I invite the best speaker adjudicator, the chief best speaker adjudicator, to make a 5-minute critique of the speakers and give the decision for best speaker.
It was a very difficult decision. I'd like to share with you that so many of our young speakers today speak so well, and here they are debating, arguing a point as well, civilised manner delivered to the auditorium and our guests. What I especially liked was between the two people judging the best speaker, the scores were so close. In fact, there was 1 point separating some, and 2 people were exactly at the same score. Of all our speakers this evening, they spoke very audibly and clearly for the most part. They were articulate. Voice modulation was good overall, and the command of the material was reasonably well known by the speakers. The level of persuasiveness was something to behold, in particular by a couple of the speakers. One area for improvement overall would be for our debaters to have a better command of their material so that they could use better eye contact. Now, it's a lot of information that they were trying to disseminate, and it is difficult when you are trying to do it word for word. It's helpful if you can remember your strong points and speak more freely about them. That way you can speak to your audience. Body language. There was some body language, but I would say that probably our best speaker lost points for too much body language. Who could that be, the best speaker, who used too much body language? So just to reinforce the point, one judge this evening had 2 people on her score sheet with the same amount of points, and so did the other judge, and they weren't the same people. So that is how close the competition was this evening. The best speaker is the leader for the proposition, Kamaya Millington.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fawcett. And especially thank you for the brief critique. And congratulations, Ms. Millington. I'd like to call our chief adjudicator, Dr. Yising, to give her brief critique of the debate and the debaters and to name the winning team.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, students, moderator. Let us hear it for the 2 teams, which I think they are winners. It takes a lot of guts and confidence and the ability to speak in front of an audience for you to reach this far. So I think they are all winners so far. The moot today was censorship of media in the BVI, and I think both teams did very well in terms of their presentations. There are particular areas that we looked at in order to assess them in their deliberations. For the prepared presentation, which is what we looked at, soundness of points was very important. And I thought they did very well on that. The research was good. They were able to give examples both internationally as well as locally here in the BVI, and I thought that they got good points from that. They did very good research, and it's a lot of material. It's a lot of material, and for you to recall all of this, it means that you have to practice, practice, practice to get it right. But because of the amount of facts that were there, sometimes you have to read. And in reading, you tend to lose your audience. So if you could be more concise in your presentation, as Bobby said, you'd be able to capture your audience and use eye contact to hold them. So the eye contact is very important because you can capitalize on that because you want to send a message to your audience. Logical development, very good on both sides. I thought the logic was good. They gave examples and they followed up. And the body of their speech captured us because, it was information for us. The audibility and clarity. I thought they were all audible. They were not too loud and they were not too soft. Yes, there are times when they stuttered over words, but I thought that happened mainly when the bell rang and everybody started rushing to try to get your speech done. Now, one of the ways in which you can get over this is by practicing and timing yourself so that at the end of your presentation, you don't have to be rushed. You could actually take your eyes off the paper and look at the audience because you know your material so well. So don't let the bell startle you. One speaker in particular started speaking very fast and started stuttering, and mispronunciation of words became evident. And that in itself will get you depressed or, throw you off then. So always practice, 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 which is very important, and time yourself. Look in the mirror or ask your little niece or nephew or brothers or sisters to time you while you speak. The other points that were made during this speech was, during the presentation is your posture and the personality. Posture is very important. Body language is very important. Some people, when they're nervous, they stand still at attention and they don't move. They just talk, 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 right? Some people fidget, Some people look for hands in the pocket and they're feeling something in the pocket. I don't know what it is. But, it's sort of nerves. They get very nervous and they do little things with their hands. Some people overdo with their hands because you're using your hands to help you make the point. And therefore, you have to be looking at your audience and projecting your body language, which will enhance your speech to help you make your point. You said that, the guy was naked and he was cold. You see, your body language will help to portray what you're trying to say. So in that way, it enhances your speech. So all these things are very important in holding the audience, because that's what you want to do, debaters. That's what you want to do. You want to hold your audience. Keep them there, lock them in, so that they can understand the message that you're sending, which is very important. The command of the language, English language, I thought that was fairly good. The mispronunciation, as I say, was because of nerves. And sometimes when you're giving a presentation and you meet upon new words, you could spell the word, pronounce it once, and then after that you could probably use something else to indicate if you find that you're stuttering. And this tends to happen when you're using language that you're not used to, especially in the medical field. You stutter over these big words. But as I said before, once you know your material, you will not stutter as much. Group coordination. I thought that some of the debaters were able to help each other You can see the organization of their speech. They say what this one is going to say, they say what the other is going to say, and in the end, they came together. Similarly, with the rebuttal, you need to help each other. So while someone is speaking, you're making points, even though you're not the rebutter. And then you put all the information together so that the rebutter will have all his facts so that he could present easily and not having to think, what did that person say, what did that other person say? So you work together. Similarly, in your conclusion should be such that it encompasses what you said at the beginning, your introduction, then the body of your speech, and the conclusion should include what you said before. Do not bring up a new fact or a new point in your conclusion. That's not a conclusion. That's starting a new fact within the body. So your conclusion should be what you mentioned at the beginning, your introduction, your body, and now you've put it together to concisely conclude what you are trying to tell the audience, because the audience wants to know what the message is. What is the message you're sending to us? What are you telling us about censorship in the BVI? Should it be or should it not be? And if it's going to be, why? And we need all these facts. Now, rebuttal is a skill that debaters have to use, because that is the edge over the other team. You had time to prepare, so the first two speakers, they had time to prepare. Now the rebutter is the one who is under pressure. He has to speak on his feet, or her on her feet, because it is not a prepared speech. You don't know what the other person was thinking, but you have to be listening carefully, because each point that is made by the other team, you're going to capitalize on it and whip them, cut them off, because you know the answer. So you need a good command of the English language. You need to speak, project your voice, as well as use your body language, like one of our speakers did when he was doing the rebuttal. He had us laughing, right? So he captured the audience. So that is very important. Even though he might not have said a lot, but he made a point, he made us laugh. So you could inject humor in what you're saying as well. So that's 2 points to take away. So the rebutter has to be a very good analyst then, who can now put things together. And so in my conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I thought that this was a very good debate. Good points were made. Good clarity of speech, body language, eye contact could be improved, but it goes with practice. And that we all enjoyed this debate this evening. Now, last thing I have to say, teamwork is necessary. So everyone should contribute points to help each other so that we can have an organized debate. We can see logic, and we can capitalize on all the points that are being made. And I thought that one team in particular came close to manifesting all these points that we made that I made just now. And so the winner for this debate, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for it? Or should I go on? It's St. George's College. Congratulations. They amassed,
Don't leave yet. Yeah, I got to go.
they amassed 685 points, as opposed to the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies, 530 points. Congratulations again, St. George's. Very good effort.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yi Singh, for that comprehensive critique. Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to give the brilliant high schoolers a big round of applause for the fantastic job. they have done tonight in debating the media censorship is needed in the British Virgin Islands. Certainly, they have given us a lot of food for thought and fuel for discussions that I'm sure we'll be having in the not too distant future. So I want to congratulate on St. George's Secondary School, and of course, I want to big up the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies as well for a job well done.